Yo, what is going on, you guys? It's your boy King Sanders here. We are back with another day of sports betting. This is going to be for Thursday, December 22nd slate of NBA action, man. I'm super excited to dive into it. We do only have 2 games on, unfortunately. So we have 2 picks. Hopefully they're both winners. We're bringing out the shades once again tomorrow. But I do have 2 plays as of right now, and of course we do have our consensus play as well. So technically we do have 3 plays here in this video. So before we go ahead and dive into it, I did just want to go ahead and say that we are still currently on the road to 10,000 subscribers. You guys have been absolutely destroying that sub button. We are less than 200 subscribers away from that 10,000 subscriber mark, and if we end up hitting that by the time that New Year's does end up hitting, we'll be doing a pretty big giveaway that you guys will not want to miss. So hopefully we can go ahead and hit that here soon. But I did also just want to go ahead and give a quick shout out here to all of our members here on the channel. Thank you guys so much for everything that you guys do. And thank you guys so much for giving such a small channel such a big chance, as I always say. It truly does mean the absolute world to me. So much more than you guys will ever know. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and dive into a quick recap as of yesterday. I'll be completely honest, we really didn't have the greatest day, as you guys can kind of see from the overlay. Definitely a couple tough plays here and there, so let's go ahead and dive into it. So we did have our kill shot play of the day. We had Jared Allen under 23.5 PRAs versus Milwaukee.
What an idiot! Oh, what a loser!
Minus 120 odds. I guess that the play definitely would have been the rebounds there. Jared Allen had a really great game scoring the basketball. Brook Lopez and Giannis just really, they switched off throughout the course of that game, and it just didn't matter. Jared Allen was cooking whoever was in front of him. It really just didn't matter. He had a great game. Shout out Jared Allen. I'll always admit when I was wrong. I was completely wrong about this play 100%. Rebounds was definitely the play for sure. Then we did end up having Luka over 30.5 points versus the Timberwolves at minus 110 odds. Now this one was honestly just a really tough beat, just because of the fact that Luka really didn't shoot the ball a whole lot. Luka Doncic literally only shot the ball. I'm taking a look at it now, but I believe it was 16 times. Yeah, it was a total of 16 times. That's all that he shot. He shot 50% from the field. He made 8 of his shots, but he only shot 16 times. If he shoots, and he only shot also 5 threes. As we had talked about yesterday, he averages 8.3 three-pointers attempted per game. If he shoots those 8 that he normally does shoot, makes 2 of those, we're in the over. But, you know, it is what it is. We ended up losing that one as well. It was a very low-scoring game. It was one of the most boring games I've seen in a very long time, I'll be completely honest. Luka did almost have a triple-double, but at the end of the day, it didn't matter. We just needed him to get to that 31, and he was not able to do that for us. But then we did end up having the Pacers and the Celtics under 232 at minus 110. This one ended up working out for us in kind of a weird way. If you guys were watching this game, the Celtics were down pretty big at the beginning of this game. They were down by like 20, I think it was. It was something like that. They were down pretty big. And this under was looking really good. Really good. I think there was only like 60 points halfway through the second quarter. This game looked very low scoring. It looked like the Pacers were going to take care of business early. The Celtics were going to get blown out. And it looked like a lot of the starters were going to be taken out. But that did not happen. The Celtics ended up turning things around, and they ended up actually fighting back against the Indiana Pacers. They brought it to within 5, and we ended up hitting this under, even despite the fact that the Celtics crawled their way all the way back. I know the Pacers, I put it on my Twitter, but I think they only had I think it was like 50-ish points in the second half. I don't remember the exact number, so I do apologize about that, but I did tweet about it. So the Pacers barely scored in the second half, and it ended up working out for us. And then we had our added play. I knew I shouldn't have added a player from my favorite team. That's one of my personal things. I never usually bet on a player that's on my favorite team, just because I feel like it's bound to lose. Just because, you know, I'm such an optimistic guy. The last thing I normally do is bet on my teams. But we did have Vucevic over 10.5 rebounds versus Atlanta at minus 105. I thought that without Capella, this was going to be an easy cash. I got to be completely honest. And the line was high, even though he hasn't hit the over very often. I saw a ton of value in it, and unfortunately, it did not hit. Finishes with just 7 rebounds. He had literally 0, the same amount as you and me at the end of the first quarter. You can't have that when you're looking for a guy to get 11. You can't be getting 0 in the first quarter. But you know, it is what it is. Ended up going 1-3. But after 4 straight winning days, we have to give back just a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and turn that around on this 2-game slate. As I had mentioned, 2 plays. Hopefully we have 2 winners, and we have our consensus play as well. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and dive into it. So for our first official play of the day, our Kings kill shot play of the day, we're taking Tre Jones over 6.5 assists here versus the Pelicans at -105 odds. Now, I know this is definitely a prop that I personally have never bet on. I've never taken a shot on Tre Jones, but I do like the way that he's playing. I like the way that he fits within this Spurs offense, but I really, really love this line. Now, let me go ahead and talk about it. First things first, key injury here. It looks like Keldon Johnson is listed as doubtful for this game. In the last couple games for Tre Jones without Keldon Johnson, he's had 8, 4, 7, 7, 12, and 11 assists in his last 6 games without Keldon Johnson. So he has hit this over in 5 of the last 6 games without Keldon Johnson. That's huge for me. He sees a ton of more usage without Keldon Johnson on the floor, and we should see plenty of opportunities for Tre Jones' teammates to be able to hit their shots. Also, even in the last 2 games, just outright, he has hit the over in both of them. So he's been really good to this line, and he's played the Pelicans already twice this year. So it's not like it's going to be a new defense at all. And he has hit the over in both of those, finishing with 9 in each of them. So he's averaging 9 assists per game versus the Pelicans this year. I think he can get to 7. I don't think that that's asking too much. I really don't. And in the last 7 games, the Pelicans, they've allowed the 2nd most assists per game to opposing point guards. So they've allowed a ton of assists to that point guard position. And I know that CJ McCollum isn't necessarily the greatest defender, but he's really picked things up a little bit here recently, making it tough for that opposing point guard. And with that being said, it's kind of forcing them to pass the ball just a little bit more. Also, the Pelicans in their last 3 games have the 4th worst defensive efficiency in all of basketball. They have not been a very good basketball team, like defense-wise. They've been a good team, just not necessarily defensive-wise. And they are 4th in pace in their last 3 games. So they play at a super fast pace. They give up a lot of points, and their defense is not necessarily the greatest in the last couple games. Sign me up. And another huge thing, Zion is going to be out of this game. And Zion is, of course, one of their best defensive pieces that the New Orleans Pelicans do have. Every once in a while he gets those plays where he's just jumping out of the gym. That's another body that's off the floor as well. I think that we do see a pretty big night here for Tre Jones. I would even, if you really wanted to, I think you could even ladder this one up. I think we do see double digits here from Tre Jones. So I do like it here for our first play of the day, our kill shot play of the day. Tre Jones over 6.5 assists here versus the Pelicans at -105 odds. Now for our second and final play of the day, currently we are taking the Wizards and the Jazz over 229 at -110 odds. I'll be completely honest, I don't really love any of the props as of right now. We're still waiting on some of the plays from the Wizards side of things, but regardless, not a huge fan of it. I don't really like a whole lot of the props, but I do love this total. First things first, Utah is 24th in points allowed. They allow the 7th most points per game to opposing teams just in general. And in the last 4 games, they've given up totals of 111, 122, 123, and 129 in their last 4 games. They've given up a ton of points here recently. And I think we see a similar situation here once again. Washington is not necessarily the best defense either. They are 23rd in defensive efficiency. And Utah, they're 25th. So both these teams, not necessarily great defensive teams. I think that it's going to be a very high-scoring game in this one. Utah is also 4th in points per game on the offensive side of things, so one of the best offenses in all of basketball. And as if it doesn't get better there, they average 9 more points per game at home than they do on the road. Great spot to be taking them at home as of right now. And Washington, in the last 3 games, it looks like Kristaps Porzingis is listed as questionable. So, not necessarily a tremendous defender, but he is, of course, a great offensive piece. But even in the last 3 games without Kristaps Porzingis, the Washington Wizards are averaging 118 points scored, even without him. So if he's in there, I think that number does get bumped up even more. I think that it's a really great spot to be taking it over versus 2 teams that love to get up and down, 2 teams that aren't necessarily the greatest defenses, and teams that are pretty good on offense. So I do think it's a pretty good spot to target here for our second play of the day. Wizards and the Jazz over 229 at -110 odds. Now, I will go ahead and talk about a couple leans here before we dive into the consensus play. First one, I do like Devin Vassell over in points. I love Devin Vassell. He's such a great player, and I think that he can get there tonight. The Pelicans do allow a good number of points to that shooting guard position. The only reason I don't like it is because if you're thinking about it from a game script style of things, he's going to be getting a lot of that attention. So it does make me just a little bit nervous that we could see him getting locked down, but his point line's only at 21.5, and he's hit that in the last 2 games without Keldon Johnson, so he could get there. There's no doubt about it, but it kind of scared me away a little bit. And another lean I did like is Jakob Poeltl over in rebounds. I think that's a really good spot as well, because with no Zion and Jonas Valanciunas still in there, I just think that it's going to be a tough task for Mr. Joe Val to be able to stop Poeltl on the rebounds. I don't love it. So I do like that play as a lean as well. Now, for the consensus play of the day, we are going to that first game of the night, the Spurs traveling to the Pelicans to take them on. The Pelicans are currently 7.5-point favorites. So from left to right, we do have Brady. Brady is going to be taking the New Orleans Pelicans. We do have Mitch. Mitch is going to be taking the Spurs. We have Ryan. Ryan's going to be taking the Pelicans. We have Seth. Seth is going to be taking the Spurs, which leaves it to me. We're kind of 2-2 right now, and I'm taking the Spurs. I do like the Spurs, so that is going to be our consensus play of the day. Spurs plus 7.5 here versus the Pelicans at minus 110 odds. So that is going to do it for today's video. If you guys did enjoy, make sure you guys do like, comment, subscribe, turn on that notification bell so you guys know whenever I post. Like I said, we're on the road to 10,000 subscribers. We're less than 200 away. Let's go ahead and hit it. Why not? So that is going to do it for today's video. If you guys did enjoy, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. This is King Sanders signing out. Peace.